Okay, keep in mind we're still talking about synovial joints, but remember how synovial joints have the ability to move? All the other ones are either fixed or they're sort of locked. So we're going to talk about different types of synovial joints and how they work. They're all over our body. There's a lot of them in our hand, but we know that there's the fixed joints, there's the ball and socket joint, the hinge joint, and then we're going to talk about a bunch of other different types of joint. If you look over here, we're going to be talking about the ball and socket joint. So what you see here is just exactly what you expect. There's a socket, there's a ball. These are going to be in our shoulders and our hips. We have our condylar joint, and that's going to be between our phalanges, our metacarpals, and they're going to allow them to move in sort of two directions. We're going to go ahead and have our saddle joints. And our saddle joints, I'll show you one that's separated a little more, but if I were to take one away, it does actually have that saddle sort of look to it, and it looks like two saddles coming together, and it gives two different directional. It can go up and down and this way, and that's going to be like in our thumb. We're going to have our plane or gliding joint. And that is going to be between our carpals. So between these two, these are going to be between our carpals. They're also in between our spine. We have our hinge. Our hinge is a uniaxial or just one directional of movement, and you're going to see them in our say between our ulna and our femur and different areas like that. And pivot, I think we've done that one too. That just allows for some movement as well. And the pivot one will be like in our head between our atlas and axis. So let's see some of these. The ball and socket joint is a multi-axial, so it can move in a bunch of different directions. We break these different sort of synovial joints up into movement. Is it multi-axial, which means to go in many different directions? Is it uniaxial, or is it biaxial? So multi-axial means your humerus, in your hips, you can move in so many different directions, and that's why it's called multi-axial. Axial is the direction, and multi. It's definitely got that spherical head of a bone, and it fits kind of like a ball and socket. It's got the perfect name. Here's the ball, here's the socket, and then they'll come together, so you can do abduction, you could do some rotation, you could do some flexing. Condylar joints. These guys are going to be in between phalanges, and they're sort of oval. You can see that one has an oval shape and one has that socket. They depress into each other. They're going to be in the metacarpals, like I mentioned. They're going to be biaxial movement, so they're going to allow for directions in two different planes. Our saddle joints. Saddle joints, you could see it almost looks like one saddle and another. They kind of come together, and these are going to be another type of biaxial joint, and they're going to allow the bones to sort of move on each other. The one that I think about is the thumb being in that saddle joint. It's going to be right over here, and they've kind of got that two look to it. Plane joint, that's going to be things that can go in biaxial again, so it can go in two directions, two planes, and it's usually a gliding sort of thing that it can do that. This is going to be found between our vertebra. Again, it'll be in between our carpals. So the bone surface is flat and slightly curved, so it can make sure that they both glide on each other. The bones slide over one another, and they're found in our vertebrae, like I said. Hinge joints, these are going to be like the one that we had for our ulna and our humerus. Remember how they sort of locked in with each other? And they're going to be monoaxial. So mono means one, axial is the plane, so one movement. They're going to open and close like a door hinge, and if you remember in lab, we put these two together, and it shows that we only can go in one direction, flexing. The elbow works that way, the knee works that way too. Our pivot joint is monoaxial, one direction as well, and it's going to be able to move in one direction, so it's just going to be able to sort of rotate. So the bone rotates along its axis, and that's it. Great, those are all our different rotational types of synovial joints.